Water. It's the most precious resource that we have. Even though the majority of the planet is water, less than 1% of the water on Earth can be used for human needs. That's because most of it is ocean water or water frozen in glaciers. Cleaning the fresh water after we use it will help the environment stay clean and safe for future generations. Hi, I'm Annie Spierka. Did you know that the average person uses about 100 gallons of water a day? Today, I'm going to show you what happens to all of that water after we use it. All of the clean water that comes into your house through one pipe leaves in a different pipe as wastewater. Every time you flush, shower, brush your teeth, do laundry, or wash dishes, wastewater is created. Have you ever wondered where Santa Barbara's wastewater goes? It doesn't go into the storm drains because that would end up in the creeks and pollute our environment. All of Santa Barbara's wastewater comes here to the Estero wastewater treatment plant. A wastewater treatment plant takes the processes that occur in nature and speeds them up. City workers clean and disinfect the water so that some can go into the ocean and some can end up as recycled water that we can use again. Every day, over 8 million gallons of wastewater are treated here. Let's see how it works. This is Todd Haldorn, one of the plant operators at Estero. He's going to join us on our tour of the plant. Right now, we're in the control room. Every step of the way, a high-tech system called SCADA controls and monitors every process at Estero.
Well, Annie, SCADA helps with quality control and alerts operators if there's any malfunction. Interactive screens allow operators to get real-time information on treatment plant processes as well as make changes to plant settings.
The first step is called pre-treatment. Industries and businesses that use toxic chemicals are required to treat their wastewater before it's sent to Estero. That way, chemicals that could be harmful to Estero or to the environment are removed. Wastewater from houses, businesses, and industries flows through sewer pipes to the treatment plant. Once the wastewater arrives at Estero, the first place it goes is 2 stories underneath this building. Come on, let's check it out. This is called the influent wet well. Large debris like paper, roots, and wood is ground up and then removed for disposal. That corkscrew-like thing called an auger removes large objects like candy wrappers, dish rags, small toys, and other trash.
Here's some of the toys and other items that we've removed in the first stage of treatment.
Behind me, under these covers, is the grit chamber, which uses gravity to separate solids. Inorganic, gritty stuff like sand and gravel settles to the bottom of a tank. The grit that's removed is collected here and then sent to a landfill for disposal. You can make your own grit chamber at home by putting sand in a bucket of water. See all that grit at the bottom? After that, this is where the water gets its first real cleaning, here at the primary clarifier. They slow the flow of the water even more to allow light stuff like grease to float to the top, and heavier material like food particles to settle to the bottom of the tank. This separates much of the waste from the water.
The stuff that floats to the top of the water is called scum, and the heavier stuff that settles to the bottom is called sludge. Big scrapers move the sludge to one end of the tank and the scum to the other end of the tank, where it is collected.
The sludge is pumped to the gravity thickener. The scum is pumped to the dissolved air flotation thickeners, which we will talk about later. After those primary treatments, 40 to 60% of the waste is removed. Estero has a secondary treatment as well, which begins at these aeration tanks. Air bubbles are pumped into the bottom of the tank from air compressors called blowers. The oxygen in the air encourages microorganisms or tiny bugs to multiply. These are the same bugs that exist in nature, in our creeks and our ocean. There's just a bigger concentration of them, which speeds up the process.
In order to thrive, the bacteria or bugs need oxygen. Those blowers put the same air that you breathe into the water, fueling the bugs during their meal. As they eat, they change the waste into carbon dioxide and water. The population of bacteria is carefully controlled to make sure that there are enough to properly treat the water, but not so many that they start to starve.
Here, at the secondary clarifier, the flow of the water is slowed down even further. The bugs that ate up all that waste are very full from their meal, so they sink to the bottom of this tank. Because they sink to the bottom, scrapers can remove them for collection. The concentration of microorganisms is called activated sludge.
This is what happens in the secondary clarifiers. The bugs are allowed to settle out to the bottom.
A controlled amount of activated sludge is pumped back into the aeration tanks to continue the process. The rest of the bugs are thickened and sent to the anaerobic digesters, which we'll show you later. The clear water flows off the top of the secondary clarifier to the next step.
Most of the water goes to the chlorine contact chamber. A similar chlorine used in swimming pools is super concentrated and added here to disinfect the water.
Chlorine is added for disinfection, but chlorine is also toxic to fish and other marine organisms. So at the end of the chamber, sodium bisulfite is added to neutralize or take the chlorine back out of the water so it will be safe to release into the ocean.
Water reaches the ocean through a pipe that is 1.5 miles long. The last 720 feet have small holes or diffusers that jetstream the water into the ocean. The fast mixing ensures that the freshly cleaned water becomes salt water quickly, so there's little environmental impact.
At this point, the water has been cleaned to a level where it has no measurable impact on the ocean. On an average day, there is less bacteria in all the water released from Estero than in a single seagull's poop. Let's hear what my friend Ray has to say in the lab.
This is the lab at Estero. Here we perform over 4,000 tests on the water and wastewater here in Santa Barbara. And this flask full of filthy water is the stuff that comes into the plant every single day. As it goes through the plant, you can see it is purified through each step until finally it reaches this stage here, at which point it's discharged into the ocean. Here the water exceeds all government standards and complies with the Clean Water Act. And any remaining material in the water is consumed safely by the bugs that live in the ocean.
Now that we've seen where most of the water goes, let's see what happens to the solids removed from the primary and secondary treatments. Remember the sludge? It can be used as a fertilizer after it goes through another process.
The sludge from the primary treatment goes to the gravity thickener. It's a specially constructed tank that uses gravity to thicken the solids on the bottom. Relatively clear water flows out of the top of the tank and is sent back through the plant for cleaning. The solids are then pumped to the anaerobic digesters.
The sludge from the secondary treatment goes to the dissolved air flotation thickener.
We call this the stinky tank. Air is introduced into the bottom of the tank. It forms little fizzy bubbles like when you open a soda.
Those tiny air bubbles stick to the solid particles and make them lighter than water, so they float to the top. The thickened sludge is skimmed off, and just like the sludge from the gravity thickeners, it is sent to the next step.
The solids collected from both thickeners are sent here to the anaerobic digester. Anaerobic means without air. Billions of the same bacteria that are in your tummy digest the organic portion. So that's why the tank is set for 98.6 degrees, the same temperature of your body.
One of the products of the bacteria breakdown is methane gas, and most of it is recycled as energy to heat the tank. After 15 to 25 days, All that's left are nutrient-rich biosolids.
Here in the belt filter presses room, the biosolids are pumped between two big sheets of fabric that are then squeezed through a series of rollers. Most of the water is forced out through the holes in the fabric, but the solids are retained.
These belt presses process the sludge by removing most of the water to produce a material that can be used as a soil amendment for agriculture or as a component in high-quality compost.
The biosolids go through these belt presses along the conveyor belt and are then collected in this truck. Although the material here looks pretty solid, it is still about 82% water. The biosolids are used to fertilize plant crops like cotton or on lawns, sport fields, or parks.
Another positive result of the Estero wastewater treatment plant is that some of the water ends up being recycled for further use. As we said earlier, not all of the wastewater treated at Estero is deposited into the ocean. About 1 million gallons of water per day are recycled as part of a third process.
To make recycled water, treated water is diverted from the chlorine contact chamber and sent through anthracite coal filters to strain any remaining solids.
This is the coal that's in the reclaimed water filters. The purpose of the coal is to trap the particles in the water being filtered.
The filtered water is disinfected with chlorine and then pumped into the first of two reservoirs.
The water sits for several days to increase the destruction of pathogens or disease-causing bugs, so it acts as a storage reservoir and an extension of the disinfection process. At the distribution pump station, big pumps send recycled water away from Estero and to parks and other landscaped areas throughout Santa Barbara.
The large pumps send the water through the lines and up the hills to the sites where it is used for irrigation. Over 40 sites in Santa Barbara use recycled water from Estero. Schools, parks, retirement homes, golf courses use it to water their landscapes or for public toilet flushing.
We used recycled water here at the zoo for a variety of purposes. It saves us a lot of money, and it's also part of our overall environmental conservation effort here at the zoo.
Businesses and schools save $350,000 a year by using recycled water from Estero.
There's a limited amount of fresh water in California, and we need to reuse and recycle as much as we can. Just like we recycle paper and glass, we recycle water and use it again.
Thanks to the Estero wastewater treatment plant, the water from my kitchen sink can be turned into recycled water and used to water the lawn at my own school. Now that you know where Santa Barbara's wastewater goes, you know that the water we use today will be used again and again tomorrow. As long as we have Estero, we can keep Santa Barbara's water safe, the environment clean, and the public healthy